Alrighty.
Hello, hello, hello.
It's
Welcome
uh
once Conspiracy or Not, here we come.
it's conspiracy or not, indeed. Here we come. And tonight we have an interesting individual. His his name is Bart, but he goes by the Bartomon on YouTube. And he's got some fascinating, esoteric, and interesting information. Uh, and welcome, Bart.
Hi, Amy. Hi, Ian.
How you
Thanks
doing,
so much
Bart?
for having me.
Good to have you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I tend to be kind of deadpan, so I am genuinely excited. Just have to take my word for it.
Good stuff. Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Well, I tell you what, I hear that you have a presentation ready, and I thought perhaps you could just go right on into it.
Oh, just jump right into it, huh? Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Sounds good. Gosh, it'd be great if we maybe warmed up a little bit before the presentation.
Fair enough.
How about because it's I wouldn't say it's a formal presentation. It's a loosely compiled presentation, and I thought I would do a good job of winging it.
Okay, well,
but
why don't you
yeah,
tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and what your interests are and all of that neat stuff?
sure, yeah. So all my thoughts are suddenly all stepping on each other's toes, but I guess I'll just start somewhere, and that is I'm pretty much interested in everything, and I've always been that way. Just, name a topic. I either know something about it, or if I've never heard of it, I'll probably be immediately fascinated by it, unless it's something completely inane and trivial. But even among those things, I'll probably find something interesting. And yeah, I guess often we start these kinds of conversations with, like, okay, so I'm on a conspiracy show, right? So, when did the awakening happen for me? And not to
Right.
do the job of interviewer and interviewee, but I kind of like that as a starting point. And I would say my awakening happened when I was about 15 or 16 years old, and I was sitting on my bed, and I spontaneously, I lay down on my bed, and I felt my consciousness sort of start receding from the sensation of my skin down to like a piano wire sort of skeleton inside of me. And then it started to collapse a little bit more, and then I sort of like jumped out of that. But that reminded me of an experience that I had when I was about, let's say, 10 or 11, where that same exact thing happened. where I had gone to bed, and I either had fallen asleep or was in the middle of falling asleep, and I became paralyzed. And so, like, sleep paralysis,
Right.
you know, that kind of a thing, and that same thing happened where my sense of self sort of started to fade. Not in the same way that that happens when you fall asleep, because usually that, or at least for me, that's I can't track that period, right? I'm awake, and then all of a sudden I'm off the cliff and I'm asleep, right? And I can't track that transition. But this was like the transition slowed down, and so I went down to like a little piano wire stick figure, and then that collapsed even further down into like a single point, and then the next thing I knew, I was flying through, I guess, like outer space or inner space, and I was seeing planets and stars being created and destroyed. It looked like an animated, you know, Hubble telescope image, or like we didn't have them back in the day, but like now on something like Cosmos or yeah, and then I remember waking up, and I mean, I was just filled with terror because it was so intense, so overwhelming. And I remember hopping out of bed, going to my parents' room, waking them up, and, oh, what's the matter? The planets are being destroyed. Oh, okay, well, you just had a bad dream, and go back to bed. And I'm like, no, seriously, this thing was intense. Oh, okay, yeah. Whatever, go back to bed. And so I did. I went back to bed, fell asleep, and then I guess I forgot about it for like 6 years, and then I had that, when I was 16, it jostled that memory and just came back to me spontaneously. And ever since then, I was obsessed with, like, what was that? Because that was like the most intense experience I've ever had in my life. And so I've been pursuing all the connections to trying to figure out what that was and is, and what it means. And that's led me down, 25 years of studying the occult, the esoteric, the science, art, design, you name it, I'm interested in it. Psychology, paranormal stuff, and I tried to. I kind of did a little bit of an assessment of myself the other day as I was thinking about what I would say during the show, and I kind of landed on this idea of that I'm like an outsider's outsider, where because of all these interests, right, I find myself on the outside of mainstream popular culture, and then I also have really not engaged in the community, in the conspiratorial community, or all the fringe communities, in that I haven't tried to become a character or a leader or a speaker or anything like that, and I sort of have been staying outside of that world, and observing it from the sidelines. So like double outside, right? And so, and now I think, after about 25 years of studying this really intently, I feel like all right, I kind of know what I'm talking about now. I think I can hop on the scene and contribute something. So
awesome. Very awesome.
That's why
we've got some interesting subjects tonight. I'm led to believe.
Yeah. I thought, okay, so I think that was a pretty good introduction to what I'm about. What I liked about you folks, and I just found you, and I'm sort of surprised that you were off my radar for so long. I ran into you quite synchronistically, Amy, in that okay, so it's these, you know, every crisis is an opportunity, right? So the whole Vegas thing happened, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, yeah, that thing smells fishy. Let's go to YouTube. Let's go to the interwebs and see what people are saying, and so I had been typing into the search Las Vegas hoax, and a whole bunch of stuff was coming up, and I was looking at it, researching it, trying to create a model in my own head of what this thing could be, what it could mean, how it connects to numerology, how it is it a hoax? Is it a false flag? Is it both? Is it neither? Is it, you know, I've seen a lot of this before. It seemed to fit that pattern, but it seemed to be a really big one, and so it was significant. You know, happening on October 1st. Like everything sort of jumped out, more neon colored than, oh, that's funny, it's a Vegas thing, right? It kind of became, yeah, it just had this more glowing neon sign quality to it, and so I scanned through as far as I could get, and then, you know, stuff started repeating, so I thought, okay, I'm going to punch in a different search term, and I punched in Las Vegas PSYOP, and that time the first guy that popped up was our mutual friend Andy from Total Eclipse page. Yeah. And I click on it, and I'm looking at this guy, and I'm listening to it, and I'm going, holy crap, that's my old roommate Andy that I lived with 13 years ago on Oak Street in San Francisco. And that was when I had my both my, it's hard to say, it's a nervous breakdown. I won't say it like that. It was another one of those matrix glitch, opportunity to come out of the matrix on a new level kind of experiences, where I actually started a lot of the work that I'm going to present today, and it was based around geometry. And so, yeah, okay, so I'm listening to this guy, and I'm like, sure sounds like Andy, but I can't tell. I mean, I haven't seen the guy for 13 years. He's got a beard, and you'd never had a beard before. Is it really him? And then I, of course, clicked on the little arrow, and sure enough, yep, Andy, that's him. And so I started texting him, and then Amy was on the thread, and she had posted something about a video that she had made, and so I clicked through, watched that video. I'm like, hey, she's spot on. That's a great analysis of what all's going on in the world. And so we started chatting, and next thing we knew, we were exchanging Skype info, and then I did my first ever Skype with anybody, and that was with Amy. And then I think 2 days later we did another one, and maybe we did a third. I don't recall now, but
I don't recall, but I do know that at some point Aaron joined in.
Yeah, that's right. Aaron joined in, and this was at some point I said, gosh, I really, and I'd seen the Gematria episode 59, and I'm like, what? I was really impressed with how you all spoke, the depth of your knowledge, the just the way you approached these subjects. There wasn't there was just a higher quality to it, and I thought, you know what, if I could actually be a part of a conversation like this, And yeah, and then I think I suggested that to you, Amy, and you're like, well, yeah, if you give me some topics, and
Right.
I sent over some topics, and here I am today. So again, really,
Well,
really glad to be here.
I wasn't really sure what to even go into and ask you because I did go to your channel, but you don't have any content on there as of yet, right? You just started
I
up.
don't. This
Started
is
up a
kind of
YouTube.
like, yeah, this is kind of like my Faces World debut in terms
Right.
of YouTube, and what I'm
So I was
thinking.
kind of lost. I wasn't sure what to even get into, you know. But I mean, we do have our head topics, you know, studying the math and things like
Hmm.
that. But
Yeah.
but
I
speaking of
mean,
the Las Vegas hoax, I just want to play something really quick for you guys.
oh yeah, sure.
If anybody doubts that it's real or fake, here's your proof that it's real. I'll just share this really quick here.
Is it video?
Yeah, I'll screen share.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on
Right, you can see
on the
screen,
the
right?
block there. There you go.
Just mute your mics for a sec. It's a short video. This video is from Death to Life 5's channel. He's been
Yeah, we had him
got some
on.
great
Yeah.
videos.
In the VIP section, and as soon as I started hearing the bullets, I knew it was gunfire, and I just told everybody to get down, and I just said, get down, and people kept telling me, it's not real, it's not real, and
not real, it's not real.
I said, it is real, it is real, it is real, get down. And I just knew that the bullets were flying everywhere, and that if we got up, we could die.
So if anybody had any doubt that it was real or fake, there's your proof it was real.
It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
It is real. Is real.
Is real. Is real.
Yeah.
That's
You know, I think, yeah, like I said, I kind of wanted to keep this open-ended and organic. And I think one of the topics, so I don't think I'm off base here, that I want to talk about is the idea of faux reality. Yeah, and I think we've all heard a lot about. We've heard these memes like fake news, right? And so you have fake news coming out of the mainstream media accusing the internet of being fake news, and then you got a whole bunch of people on the interweb accusing the mainstream media of being fake news, and which I tend towards that opinion, that they ought to know
I seen the guy from Facebook there just yesterday. He was up giving his testimony about this open source for their platform, right? They had the CEO from Facebook and the guy from Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They're totally saying, "Oh no, we have an open platform," you know, and then they're saying, "Well, what is hate speech to you?" And then they're like, "Well, we have people that decide what that is." Well, what? Hold on. So you have a ministry. You're called the Ministry of Truth now, right?
Yeah.
And you have an assigned team of people who decide what's misinformation and what's not, right? That's basically what he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, it's getting out of control, and they can't control the flow of information anymore. It's too hard. Even with all the censorship out there, it's still really hard for them.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like whack-a-mole. You knock one down, another one comes right up again, right? So
yes,
I mean, people are on their 7th, 8th. I think what Matty D's on his what now, Amy? 8th channel?
I don't know. I know the Truth Virus is now on 7, but he's
7. Yeah.
in 8 because they knocked his 6 down yesterday. I think it was.
Right. So it's just
7. So he was on top of things for that, and
so we do know we're in an information war, and you know, it is keeping them having to work harder, right? So
yeah, I want to screen share an image here, It
It's
is.
funny you mentioned fake news because that was coined basically by Trump, right? He's the one
Well,
that basically
Yes.
brought that term into the household term.
well, I think he was like the biggest, most public figure to ever utter
Right.
those words. But
Right.
I mean, I've been saying fake
Yeah.
news for golly gee.
Greatest
Well, we've known it's fake since
potential.
we woke up, right? But
Yeah.
he brought it
Greatest
right into the living room, right? Fake news.
Right, right. But you know what he means by it, and then what, or you know, there's what he means by it, and then
Planted, biased, or lies.
what we're supposed to think that that means versus, you know, it's anyway. This is the here. Let me screen share this.
I just want to add
Yeah.
great potential in the chat said news is a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I want to propose a new one that I think might get some traction at some point. Fake government. You know, so if the news is fake, I've been thinking of the government in terms of I think there was a coup d'état probably post World War II. I would say even pre JFK. I think he might have been part of it, where the entire U.S. government has been taken over by a troupe of really bad actors.
Well, you know that you are aware of the Act of 1871.
Yeah, yeah, the corporation where the
It's been a corporation since then,
yeah
and the owners have kept the illusion that
yeah. But I think that there's been a push pull, you know, in and out of it being real or not. I mean, of course, we had newspapers back then, right? That would have been, and then yellow journalism, that kind of stuff. You know, making up stories. Like what was it? The sinking of the Maine that instigated the Spanish-American War. I don't want to misspeak, but it was something like that. Yeah.
what exactly that was, but yeah, I know of it.
Yeah, that was one of the
The false
I
flag.
think earliest touted places where the newspaper, you know, had enough power to essentially either report on a faked event and really swing the populace towards a position
Yep.
that they wouldn't have been swung to if the thing hadn't been, you know, concocted.
Right.
But okay, so let me share this. So I'm screen sharing something. I don't know. Is that coming up?
Yep.
Yes, it
There you go.
is.
Are you all familiar with that quote?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We've quoted that many times on this show before.
Yeah. Okay.
Many
Funny.
times.
Yeah. Oh, I just had a deja vu.
Well, no, our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. William Casey, CIA director from First Staff meeting in 1981.
Yeah, and I forget her name now, but there's somebody who verified that was indeed a true quote, that she was there. She was the one that reported the quote. It's out on the web.
This all has a part to do with Operation Mockingbird,
Mm-hmm.
which was a CIA-run operation to control the news. You see.
Yep.
And they got caught, and they actually even admitted it in a hearing. I can't remember what it was, a congressional hearing, I believe. They actually admitted to it.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? I mean, nobody listens to the congressional hearings anyway, so it's. But I think
swept that under the rug quickly enough. So.
Yeah.
We have some interesting information in the chat from.
Yeah, I
Mr.
know everybody's
Spencer.
commenting on this.
And he's saying that the U.S. was declared sovereign God King with the purchase of the Ohio Territory in 1788. The U.S. Constitution is a con.
Yep.
The Revolutionary War was a giant staged event. You think maybe? The elite needed to assume a new cover. They wanted to move
Yep.
from monarchy to democracy so that there is no one person to point the finger at.
Right.
To agree, I think
I have to agree with that too. Yeah.
democracy is one of the worst options. That's why I want a solutocracy. Anyway, he says the elite have controlled the whole world for 12,000 years. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Well,
am
however
working.
long the Earth is, we don't even know how old the Earth is.
Well, I think that there was a group that took over when the last cataclysm occurred.
Right.
But
yeah, they lived somehow.
About 12,000 years ago. He says he's working on a documentary that covers 100,000 years of history to prove this. And I think it's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. He says, read the Anti-Federalist papers. Everything the Anti-Federalists said came true.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, some very, very interesting.
Blue Blood's right, though. The BIS does run pretty much it all. All of Western banking is that's the central bank of central banks.
Yes.
It's called the Bank for International Settlements, and it's in Germany.
Yep. Very true.
Yeah.
We've talked about that on the show in the past as well, the BIS and all that. So
I want to throw something out there, which is I have a little pet theory, and that is, if you've ever heard of it, then it's not, those aren't the guys, right? So by the time you've heard of it, they've already they're well ahead of the game, and they've already constructed whatever the next level operating system is, right? So
next level of deception.
Yeah. And
I've firmly always, sorry to interrupt you there, but I just always firmly believe that this Illuminati term is allowed to be thrown around loosely, just so that you're looking at something else that isn't there.
Yeah, you're looking at ghosts, right? You're pointing the finger at ghosts, at things that are have already passed by, but then they're sort of reconjured. And it gives, everything's a distraction from every other distraction, right?
Right.
And so a lot of what I've been very interested in is, if everything is fake, well, not everything is fake, right? I know I'm real. I know that I have family members who are real. I have friends who are real. My car is real. The trees in the forest that I can walk to right now are real. So there's a whole bunch of reality within our reality, right? Even if it is a simulation, right? It's real enough. And that's what I mean by real, right? Because studying, going into the Vedanta stuff, where everything is Maya, everything is illusion, and all of that. That's probably true and real as well. But I'm saying like operationally real, right? Real enough. But then, I'm deeply fascinated by every instance of the unreal, the faux, the fake that that has been constructed, and it's used to put a gloss over the real, and I think that for the most part, it's done to keep us floaty and disoriented, so that we're more easily steered. Yeah, I mean that's a basic sort of tenet of conspiracy sort of mindedness. And this is one of these things where I can't even imagine anybody disagreeing with that contention. I mean, the evidence for that is all around us every single day in 10,000 different ways. So like how you could not come around to at least entertain that mode of thinking is very strange to me, right? But it kind of serves to show either how effective it is or how indeed weak-minded humans actually are, or a combination of both. Or, yeah, either way, it's all.
I don't know
fascinating.
I don't know that we are necessarily weak-minded, but that when you are born into a system and it's never suggested that things could be done differently, that there are better ways to handle things. Even think about it, and if you're told, we get to lead you, and that's just the way it is, you don't think, wait a minute, thank you very much. It's all indoctrination and propaganda and lies that keep us weak-minded. But I don't think that humans are as weak-minded per se, so much as they're just not ever given the opportunity to think outside that they're put in when they come here.
Yeah.
Sandra, Aaron's not here this week, folks. He had some work to do, so he's not going to be joining us this week. Forgot to mention that at the beginning.
Oh, right.
Get that out now.
Yeah,
wherever you are, Aaron, hopefully you're listening. Miss you, buddy. We'll see you next time.
Yes. Hi, Aaron.
Absolutely.
Sorry. As you were.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in general agreement with you, Amy, and I say, the weak-mindedness of people, I in the sense of not the naturally born good human being is not weak-minded, but we are bombarded by I think this branches off for me into an interesting discussion, right? I often think about war, the word war, WAR, right? What is war? And if I'm not mistaken, I have a note here somewhere, but I think it comes from like the Germanic, and it essentially means confusion. Yeah. So I think we're encouraged to think of war in terms of battles and slaughter and killing, right? The really overt stuff, right? Yep. And that's war, and that's bad, right? But I think that's really just a symptom of induced confusion, and that's where it's really interesting and meaningful to talk about things like psychological operations, because I would say, I don't know, maybe 99% of all warfare is actually psychological operations, and then 1% is actually, shooting and bullets and battles and tanks and all of that, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and so if you know that that's the battleground, well, geez, I think that you just start thinking about life a little bit differently.
Very true.
It definitely changes everything else. Like it just, yeah, exactly.
Well, one thing that helped me grasp what was going on in the world was when I realized that psychopaths are in control. I mean, suddenly it all made sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if I was a psychopath, I'd do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once you realize that the systems that they put in place promote psychopaths to power,
that's right.
Then you just say, well, golly geez, no surprise we have psychopaths in control.
I
At
think
all.
it's this is where this kind of stuff actually borders on, you know, criminal genius, in that um, okay, no, this is not the part that's genius, but like the idea that, you know, a psychopath will uh, unreservedly harm, deceive, uh, kill other humans, other entities. Will steal,
Yeah.
will do these things, right? You know, but they will harm and kill and maim, yeah. And yet, good people, right? You know, point out the psychopath and kill him or her, right? So, like, our goodness, I mean, I think we do sometimes, right? When they push it too far and it becomes too obvious, right? But like, it's almost like a oh, what's the term? Like damned if you do, damned if you don't, or a catch-22. Yeah, it's a catch-22 sort of scenario, right? Is like most good people are too good to kill the people that would kill them, right?
Yes, and you know, I that's been one of the things I've had a lot of people say. You know, we should just go kill all of whoever they think is the problem. And you know, I keep saying that brings us to their level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I say,
It,
you know, if you see somebody,
I'm in no way promoting that idea. I'm just saying
yeah,
it's a
no,
bit of
I
a
know.
conundrum, right? If
But like I said, I see people that do say that,
yeah,
and
well, they
to me, it's like if we strip them of their power by removing their systems, and all we have to do is keep an eye on them, and if they choose unethical behavior, lock them up.
Yeah,
I
but their
don't think.
bosses, the ones that lock them up, are just as psychopathic as they
Well,
are.
yeah,
So.
but
there you go. It's a chain reaction,
the thing
sort
is
of.
that
They
as
got you by the balls.
well, the thing is that longer have power over others. Even the bosses are not going to have power over anyone
Oh,
except
exactly.
as they have psychologically manipulated people into believing they should have power.
Yeah,
Okay? And
Yeah,
that's not going to be us.
it's a house of
That's not
cards,
going to be
really.
the billions of us against the tens of thousands of them, which
Hmm.
is where it's at. You know, even though 1% of us are genetically psychopathic, um, the ones at the top don't contain all the psychopaths. They just contain a very few psychopaths. And suddenly, these people no longer have the ability to pay other people to do their dirty work because we no longer are using the money systems. We're no longer accounting for human energy. We've got plenty of energy to run things and keep things going. And thank you very much. No money. And, you know, uh, if they can't pay other people, they're going to have to do all their dirty work themselves. And you know how much havoc a few tens of thousands of people could have on a society of billions? Not very much, and for
Yeah,
not very long.
oh,
exactly.
Man.
I don't know. It seems to have been that way
Well, yeah,
for quite a
because
long time.
they instilled the systems that kept them in power.
Right, right.
Take away the systems that put psychopaths in power, in put anyone with power over others.
Right.
You you wind up no matter what with psychopaths in control because the psychopaths will be the ones who are motivated to do literally get the money, the power, whatever. They will do anything. The rest of us will not. Gee, Do I want to kill that person so that I can get that? No, I don't think so. I'm not going to kill somebody to take their. I'm not going to kill somebody to take their money. I'm not. Most of us just will not do that.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta remember,
So,
when you're talking about like politics, for example, they're all just bribed and extorted, so they have to go along, get along.
yep,
yeah.
they've got blackmail.
Blackmail, yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Willing
I
to go
think
along, they'll bring those out and say, "Hey."
I think last episode someone had mentioned Dune in the still suit, right? Putting on the still suit, and everybody sort of chimed in and said, "Oh, I love Dune. Dune is great. Dune is great." So my favorite line from Dune is right at the beginning. We see plans within plans,
Yep.
and I think that's ultimately the solution: is the empowered individual who is seeing plans within plans, waking people up by word of mouth, by sharing, by walking the talk, leading by example. That's really the only way out of the conundrum, right? It's the hardest way, but I think it's the only way. And so that kind of leads me into what I like to talk about next, which is my work with geometry. In that, in my search for, how do I know what's true? How do I know what I can trust? How do I know what I can count on? And when I looked at things like language, or the plasticity of linguistic, whether spoken or written language, I found all of these. That I found that it was really good up to a point, and then it sort of falls apart. That it has a lot of room for error, a lot of room for manipulation, and so.
Room for misinterpretation.
For misinterpretation, yeah. So it can
Like
potentially, yeah, it can potentially cause as many problems as it solves, and perhaps
right.
Cause even more problems than it could potentially solve. I was sort of thinking about, the idea of, okay, so like you can make a true statement, right? If I were to step outside and gaze across the street, and I'm looking at a blue car, right? And I say, that is a blue Chevrolet Nova, okay? And that could be a true statement, right? That really is a Nova, it really is blue, and it's really made by Chevrolet, right? And then I could say some other true things about it, like, I've seen a redheaded woman driving that car, yeah? Okay. But then, and so if you can think about every single true thing that you could say about that car, right? Eventually you're going to get into redundant stuff. You're going to get into, really, down into the minutia of it, right? And then I started thinking about, what is every lie that you could tell about just that car? And basically, you treat it as an algebra problem. You take out, you assign X, Y, Z to any given statement. So you say that is a pink elephant with a snorkel coming out of its face, right? Referring to the car, right? So then you just start thinking of everything that could be a lie or false that you could say about it. Well, then you end up with a set of lies that are, far outweigh the set of truths that you could ever say about the thing. I mean, you go into a complete absurdity, right? It's a screwdriver made of cotton candy and
I like that image.
I mean, just you can
Yeah.
take words and
Yes.
concepts and squish them together, and you can come up with any number of things, right? And but the key
Yep.
to a good lie is that, like, 80/20, 90/10 rule, right? Where 90% of what you're saying is true, right? And then the twist is the 10-20%, and people will, like, focus on the part that they can confirm or that sounds right and it's true, and then they sort of, and then that lie gets smuggled in, right?
Yep.
And so I'm really interested in stripping things down to basics and knowing how they work on this, like, archetypal level, right? So it just amazes me how the same people can fall for the same lie over and over and over and over again. I mean,
Over and over.
yeah, and even they find out it was a lie, and then they fall for it for the next time, because the little, out of the 20% lie part of it, 1% got changed, and suddenly it's it's not a man, but it's a woman this time. I'm like, oh, well, that seems legit. A woman did it. Okay.
Right. Well, it's a kind of that just reminded me of the idea that you have a lot of people who understand that 9/11 wasn't 19 religion crazed Arabs with box cutters directed by a guy on dialysis in Afghanistan.
Right.
It just wasn't. I mean, virtually all of us have seen the evidence and have finally said, okay,
It was Mossad.
It was not that. It was probably, and most of us think was CIA Mossad run.
Mossad.
Which, as far as I can tell, they're you might as well say they're the same.
The same thing.
But
the secret intelligence. Yeah.
Yes. They'll still say, look at things like Boston and Vegas and all of these other psyops, and say, well, how could they possibly do that? And I'm thinking, let's see, they pulled off 9/11. Let's think about
because
this.
They own the media. That's the only way they can do that, because they own the mainstream media.
Well, yeah, but you'd think that
they're all in the same group, right? They're in the same club. They all go to Bilderberg and concoct this crap.
Oh yeah. Fortunately, there's enough of us who say, hey, they did 9/11. That means they've got an awful lot of power. Could they do this? And look, the evidence seems to suggest it's fake. Well, yeah, I think they could. And I think they would if they can do 9/11.
They can do that. They can do anything.
Exactly. And not only can they will.
They will.
If it works to their advantage.
You even have a guy like Rahm Emanuel. I'm talking about Rahm Emanuel. He was the mayor of Chicago, I believe. He's a senator or something. I don't know. He came out and said, "Oh yeah, well, never let a serious crisis go to waste." And what I mean by that is being able to do something that you wouldn't not normally be able to do based on the situation at hand. In other words, create unjust laws based on hoaxes.
Yep.
Well, I think that is operationally the number one
modus operandi
of them. I tend to think
reaction solution.
Yeah, I tend to think of it as exerting power, and the way that I look at this kind of power, this is like a dominance kind of power, which is where, and it's quite serious and quite sophisticated at this point. It's the ability for a person or a group to look in the eyes of another person or group and tell them that this is the way it is, despite that other person not believing it, not having the or you know, it's seeming wrong, but it's like, you're going along with this or else, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that wasn't eloquently said, but you know, it's the power to lie to your face and have you accept it with
Right.
not with no way of pushing back. And you know, you do that often enough times, you or these guys, they do that enough times, they get a taste for it, and they want to see how far that they can take that principle to, you know,
Get duping delight too.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
And
duping delight in all of these psyops. Oh my gosh.
but I would say even go so far as to like, this is where it gets really interesting for me, is where the laws of physics get suspended at this time, right? You know, like, I can't believe how many scientific, like rigorously scientifically, physically oriented people will, you know, be convinced that on that day the laws of physics were out the window.
Yeah.
Newton's laws didn't apply that one day.
That one day, they just
didn't. A magical day.
Yeah.
Yeah, along with all the other unlikely things that happened that put the probability of them all happening on that same day.
A 50-foot wide plane can fit into a 10-foot size hole. You guys know that. It can fold up. It'll fold up as it hits the concrete.
It must have been a holiday, a holy day, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Physics took the laws of the universe took the day off, right?
Well, it's funny that you say holiday, because holly in the old pagan terms means wand.
Yes.
Like Hollywood.
Or wands were made from the holly tree, right? The tradition.
Yeah, the holly tree. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, this is you know, like I said, 25 years basically on the outside looking in on the entire conspiracy world, right? And I think the reason I did this was not to ever join with any particular group or point of view, so that I could always, with full, you know, impunity and freedom, go and listen to any other group, any other, including, like, you know, I'll listen to a thing, and then I'll go and listen to the debunkers, and then I'll go in and watch the debunkers of the debunkers, and the debunkers of the debunkers of the, you know, and I'll listen to someone that is coming from an evangelical Christian perspective as quickly and as openly as I'll listen to somebody presenting something from a hardcore atheist perspective, or from a Buddhist perspective, or a Jewish perspective. I don't care. I'm just interested in content. I gather up the content. I strip away all bias that I can detect, and I just crunch data.
If I could quote Aaron here, I'll quote Aaron. He says, "I'll take information wherever I can get it, and chew the meat and spit out the bones."
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And so, but I know that there is a susceptibility, even, I mean, I would say, even in the conspiracy community, in the truther community, or whatever. Truther is a funny word to me, but okay, we can set that aside. But you know, any sort of a place can become an echo chamber, and yeah, I'm seldom interested in confirmation, confirming what I already know. I'm always on the lookout for give me information that I don't know. Give me a perspective that I've never heard before, and yeah, let me play with that. And by doing that, by going through that process, hopefully, if I'm if I'm worth my salt, I've modeled a sense of reality that is, although I can talk about some really crazy outlandish stuff, my core perspective is pretty solid. At least I like to think so. I know that I'm fully aware that a lot of people would, think I'm a whack job for even considering something. But then again, it's like, gosh, if considering an idea makes you a whack job, I think there's something wrong. There's something wrong with your thinking. Like,
whack jobs are people who don't question anything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's a mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's incumbent upon everybody to question things.
Yeah. All right, if I
from known liars.
well, there you go. Right.
I always make it a policy to entertain everything that people say and then ask the question, does that explain what I see?
Mm-hmm.
And if I find that it explains what I see, then I give it a pretty decent probability of being correct.
Yeah.
But I will persist in adjusting probabilities as I go along based on new data and asking if it explains what I see.
Imagine that, having a healthy, rational approach these days. But that's sort of why I put that quote up there. It's like our disinformation campaign will be successful and when nobody knows their ass from their elbow. And I see that in play all the time out there in the world. People do not know their ass from their elbow, and
far too much.
And they think they do, and they'll tell you they.
I mean, if the majority of Americans are voting for a socialist, like Bernie Sanders, you know that you've been. You're screwed. You know that
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna step away for 5 minutes. Is this a good time, or is there like a?
Yeah, I'm just gonna play. Speaking of fake news and false realities, I'm just gonna play this 1.5-minute clip here.
It's really short. Only a minute and a half.
Yeah, it's only a minute and a half, but we'll take a break anyways.
You gotta start choosing 5 minutes. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Just this. Actually, I'll play 2 videos then. Just give me a minute. I gotta find.
Okay, so I'll be back real quick. Okay.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready, there, Ian.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the other one.
I'm going to be doing my little break too.
Yeah, I have it ready, so I'll just play this one through, and then we'll just take a break from that point.
Okay.
This is another video from Death to Life. I'm just going to show here. Death to Life 5.
He's got some good vids. I highly recommend everybody.
Yeah, I'm in one of my favorite channels, so it's got some good content.
Yep.
All right. Y'all can see that full screen?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, that was a mistake. This one's from Western Journalism.
anybody has to say to me, man. He cared. He wanted to listen to me and shake my hand and thank me, and just was so awesome. And Melania was so sweet. And to me, it felt like they genuinely cared about the people here and what happened.
Well, I'm back.
Yeah, I'm here too. I was trying to find that other video. I got the wrong one queued up there. But...
I know it's really exciting in the show. While we're looking for that, maybe now
Yeah, I can't find it, so we'll just go on.
I'll just mention that uh, the thing that I noticed, actually, I didn't notice it. I forget whose channel I saw this on, but it turns out that they in the Colorado Walmart shooting hoax, psyop, they had a witness, put that in quotes, who was wearing a shirt with a quote out of American Horror Story, starting something like, "We lived in the murder house, we escaped the asylum," and on. And
Okay, I'm back.
in that quote, it talks about Roanoke, and I don't know whether we can expect to see something out, something coming out of Roanoke, Virginia. There's an island in North Carolina that's called Roanoke. So if we see something happening in a Roanoke, and I think that they may have something planned with this silly Antifa BS, you know, this paid.
Oh yeah, that's tomorrow.
Paid by Soros event.
Yeah, that's apparently tomorrow. Yeah.
You know, maybe.
Heard they were doing an EMP drill too tomorrow.
Yeah, they're doing all kinds of stuff tomorrow. It should be interesting on Saturn's Day.
Saturn Day. Yeah.
Yep. So.
All right. So it's funny that you should mention Roanoke, because I for some reason the other day, I guess I was just sort of scanning the Rolodex in my mind, and I was just thinking about false flags that we've or psychological operations that have come and gone and not really stuck in our minds, right? Kind of like For example, do y'all remember Dormer? This was the African American cop who they did the big manhunt for in LA. Do you remember him? Remember that
Yep,
one?
I
Yeah.
sure did.
Right. But in
Vaguely.
terms of like when you there's the big ones, right? Boston, Sandy Hook, those come up 90% of the time, and these minor ones sort of come and go. But I think it's really important to also address those, right? And so, do you all remember the one that happened in Roanoke, where it was the shooting of a reporter on camera? Remember, it was like one reporter, a disgruntled reporter
was
went.
that I didn't realize that was in Roanoke, the one where what's her name gets shot and there's two takes.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's the murders of Allison Parker and Adam Ward.
That's it.
Yeah, and they were employees of CBS affiliate WDBJ in Roanoke, Virginia.
Amy, click me. Oh, yeah.
Oh, do I have you clicked?
I think so,
yeah. Okay, there you go.
Right.
Yeah. And so that was the gunman was identified as 41-year-old Vester Lee Flanagan II, right? Pseudonym for Bryce Williams, or pseudonym of Bryce Williams, right? So, I mean, remember how ridiculous that one was, right? It was. That
was really ridiculous. I mean, especially when they proved it was taken in two takes at least. From this camera angle, she nods her head, and then he pulls out the gun and starts shooting. And in this take, there's no head nodding. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but that different camera angles of the same event, and have her nod in one and nod in the other.
Yeah. And so I think that this is an example of the ones that are sloppy, the ones that didn't, they chucked it at the wall and it didn't really stick. Well, they just sort of sweep them under the carpet, and they have their page on Wikipedia and throughout the mainstream media sites with the official narrative. But the name of the game is, especially in terms of serving the stuff up to the researchers, the conspiracy-minded folks. Let's give them another one. Let's give them another one to pick apart and obsess over until the next one. So I mean, I think it has to be the idea has to be explored that. That this isn't only about ineptitude in terms of.
I agree.
So I entertain a possibility that there is, sometimes a third set of actors that insert themselves, right? So let's say, and I like to imagine that it's possible that it's a white hat type group, right? That purposely sabotages these sorts of events in order to get across the fakeness of it. You see what I'm saying?
I don't really think that it's a sabotage issue. That's not what I'm picking up. What I'm picking up is they add these things so that we will have things to argue about, and so that they can laugh at all the people who still believe it.
I think that aspect exists there as well. But I'm trying to look at instead of only and exclusively considering these things as either bungled or sloppily made operations, that there could be these other dimensions to it, right? Because I just feel somewhat uncomfortable only putting it into the bucket of that these things are only bad, right? That how do I explain it? It's as if they were social, almost like hazing rituals, in the sense of could they be used in such a way that that they actually are meant to wake up segments of the populace.
Well, I
Slowly,
think that
inch by inch. Yeah.
I think that is true, that they are allowing us to see these issues, to help wake up those of us who will wake up. And but what they get out of that is more divide.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I'm always looking at every single dimension that I can think
Yep.
of, and that one is certainly at play. I can't help but hope that that there could also be these other more subtle, more positively leaning aspects to this.
I guess, except that I know how the psychopaths think.
Right.
And
Right.
they think we want 100% control of the narrative.
Right. Right.
And I realized something, that in this Vegas psyop, you have the people who are touting the mainstream media single shooter story.
Mhm.
But they've added a second layer to this. Now online, they've got all these people saying, oh, there were multiple shooters.
Right.
And yet you've got video footage, zero damage to the venue of any sort. No broken glass, no blood spatter, no I mean,
Yeah.
they're not even treating it like they should. For example, they had a roll of the AstroTurf that they had put down. Now, if this thing had actually gone down as they had claimed, they would have wrapped that up as a biohazard.
Yeah. I mean, and similar to something like Sandy Hook, which is like, well, who was the cleaning crew that was then licensed and hired to come in and clean up all of the blood, right? And so these are indicators of that a lot of these events are 100% pure theater. Well, not pure theater, right? They're like they're street theater, right? They're it's almost like the theater has, it's like breaking the third or fourth or fifth wall, so to speak, right? Where theater bleeds out into, quote unquote, real space, right? And I think Las Vegas is this really interesting environment in which to have an operation like this bleed out into real space, because all of Vegas is fake space by design. So it's already unreal, so it's bleeding the unreal out into the unreal, and yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by the layers of this onion. Right? It reminds me of this quote that I like, which is, life is like an onion. You got to peel back the layers, and it smells bad, and it'll make you cry.
That's yeah,
And
yeah.
not to mention, there's like a sphinx in a pyramid, like right where it happened too. It's just, it's all just a staging area.
Yes.
I think we're at the point now where they're just pandering to those ideas, right? I can't help but think that all of these like celebrities that are with Illuminati tattoos, with all the Illuminati hand signals or Freemasonic hand signals, and
they've got a clothing line now that's like all
it's
666 and everything.
Yeah, it's become fashion. It's become fad. It's all part of a smoke screen. I would say, I'd give it like 80% of these folks don't know what they're doing. They're just mimicking their friends that are, it's like, hey, if you do this, then they're gonna, not only will you get photos in these publications, but then you'll also get buzz from this other community, and you can roll that back into it's like that. Have you all looked into the whole, like, is Bill Alex Jones and Bill
Hicks?
Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks, yeah, Bill Hicks,
Well,
right?
they have the same mole in the same spot, which is really unusual.
Yeah.
Well, and on top of that, I looked at a picture of Bill with his mouth open, and a picture of Alex with his mouth open, and I'm telling you, those are the same teeth.
Yeah, their teeth are super similar. I'm really, like, for a while I kind of resisted that idea.
It wouldn't surprise me in the least, you know that.
No, I mean,
Surprise me at all either.
Because Alex Jones is linked to what's called Strat 4.
Strat 4, yeah.
All in capitals, Strat 4.
Yep.
And they're a division of the CIA for online data mining. Right?
Yep.
And so whoever goes to InfoWars, you'll just be data mined. And that brings to mind what you mentioned earlier as well, Bart, about how the whole thing's set up as more or less a surveillance grid, right? The whole Facebook and was that? I'm not sure if you mentioned that earlier or not, but
I don't think I even have to mention that. That's a well enough known
exactly
trope within our community to. So yeah, I agree that there is that aspect, certainly, to the whole thing. And in a lot of ways, that's
they're old enough. They know that people are easily deceived enough that they can give you 90-80% truth and throw in the misdirection. Right?
There you go. And that 80-20 thing, right? Which brings up
but
so that's called the Pareto distribution. If you ever wanted to get into like a more technical analysis, it's an Italian mathematician, statistician who came up with this way of crunching statistics. He was trying to think about why wealth tended to flow from the people towards a small percentage of people, and he's just sort of found this algorithm or this mathematical function, and it kind of distributes around 80-20, and yeah, it's then they found that it applies to any number of other complex systems that they'll tend to flow towards a 80-20 distribution, which is a 4/5 or 1/5 distribution, or ratio rather.
Right.
So that's the kind of stuff that I'm. I wish I was way smarter than I was, because then I could really understand that stuff. I understand it, pretty well, but never enough to feel very confident in using it or talking about it, but mentioning it. Anyway, yeah. So that 80-20, that's kind of why the Alex Jones show works, right? Because 80% of what he'll put on there has some legitimacy, right? And then
I learned a lot watching his show.
Yep.
I was a easily sheepled person. I watched him for a couple of years straight, right?
Well,
before I fully woke up, right?
Yeah,
I realized that what he was telling me was only partial truth, right? So
yeah, he was the biggest game in town for a while, right? And then I think what he laid the groundwork for is also this sort of natural process of like, okay, well, this person took this idea or this concept to a logical limit, right? Then they became limited or corrupted or influenced, or they got put back in a corral, right? Okay, well, or paid off. Now they're operating at a weakened or lamed level. Well, somebody, and then they're going to have their fan base, right? Who don't want to think past them, right? Because it's a idol worship kind of thing, and we're celebrity worship. That sort of phenomenon is in play, right? But you'll have the people that get hip to it and go, you know what? I think I can do that same thing, but I'm not beholden to money interests. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it better and truer, and I'm going to hit harder. And then that wave will happen, or maybe there'll be like 20 of those folks, right? And then maybe 10 of them will drop off, and 10 will be left, and maybe they'll get to 5 of them, and then 3 of them will burn out or figure something else out to do, but then another wave will come based off of one of those people, right? So it never ends. Ultimately, love and truth and the light will triumph, but only until the next phase of darkness comes. So I think that the world is that way, and I think it will tend to be that way. It's like the point of it is to always look for the better solution. But
yes,
as soon as you find it, as soon as you create utopia, or get close to it, something else will come up. Some other dimension will open up, and then we'll have to work really hard on making that better. But I think that's great. I think that's actually like the most awesome feature of this universe. It's actually completely open source in a way, right? In that,
right.
It'll always keep going this way. There'll always be things to do.
I agree with you on that. People have told me about my solution to the psychopaths that that's just a utopia, it'll never never work. And I point out, no, it's not a utopia. There'll always be problems. It's just better than having psychopaths operate the universe.
Totally. Yeah. And this okay, so all right, let's talk about psychopaths a little more. The thing that are you guys familiar with 100th Monkey? This guy has a YouTube channel. He's not super popular. I actually like a lot of these less popular folks that really just come out there and they just speak their truth, and torpedoes be damned, and they don't monetize. They're just devoted to speaking their truth. And if you want to listen to them, you listen to them. If you don't want to, they don't care. you know. But if it's like if you listen to them and you get something from it, and then they're like, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, you know. And
Yep.
I admire that to no end. And so this guy, 100th Monkey, I think he's either out in Hawaii or something like that. He's one of these guys. He's a real good guy. And his big thing is the pedophilia, is the child sacrifice, child abuse,
Yep.
pedophilia, pedophiles in positions of power, and how we, you know, this is really one of the big problems. So he sees a lot of these other things as distractions from us really addressing that thing. And there's a part of me that that agrees. I mean, it's such a horrific topic that, you know, the majority, I would say like 99% of good-natured, normal people just don't even want to look at that, right? And therein is the power of it, right? Therein is the really dark, sinister, black magic power of this thing. And that's why I believe that it is quite prevalent.
Oh, I know it is from personal experience.
I know. And of course, yes, there's personal experience, right? But then, you know, that's anecdotal. It's within your but we are talking about, you know, the global phenomenon, or at least I'm trying to talk about the global phenomenon. Yeah. And yes, of course, that lends a lot of cachet, is to actually have had personal experience. And so, you know, I have not, to my best recollection, have had personal experience. Like I told you, Amy, I have some fuzzy memories here, because I did belong to a Catholic church when I was a wee one, and I have some memories of something being funny, but, you know, I could have shut them down, or I could have been picking up on something, or any number of things. But I know enough now in my research to know that this thing is true. It is prevalent, and it is really big problem that we need to keep in the discussion.
While I agree with you there, I think that the reason that they can get away with what they do has to do with those systems that promote the psychopaths to power.
Of course, yeah.
Because if we didn't have the power over others and they had to do dirty work themselves, there would be very little of that going on, because people would investigate, find out what's going on, and for the problem of them doing such things.
Yeah.
You know, lock them up.
I've been thinking about, so, you know, I like to think about various angles on this, and I do know, you know, about the, you know, Epstein's pedo island, about secret recordings and things like this, right? So I'm wondering if, and I really wouldn't be surprised if the majority of this thing isn't the blackmail component, and I mean the vast majority of it, which is sort of the idea of, okay, we'll get somebody that's an aspiring politician or banker or media executive, right? We'll invite them into this setup, right? Whether that's you know, having just a hotel room, like a one-on-one thing with the underage person, or whether it's part of a group, you know, ritual, right? And then the whole thing is filmed, right? And then that's really the gem, right? That's really the thing, the hook that gets people, which is like you do everything you're told to do by the group, or else this comes out. Yeah. And it doesn't have to come out publicly, right? It would come out to the people that it would be most devastating for that person to have it come out to, right? So they keep it concentrated, keep it congealed, and also, like with the ritual stuff, right? I am not so quick to subscribe to the idea of that these rituals really work, that they really
That I agree with.
Yeah, they really bring in dark power, right? And just hear me out here. What I think might be happening is this idea of people get duped into playing this theatrical demonic thing, right? And then not only are they embarrassed by being stupid enough to believe that this thing really brings them power, but there's actually someone actually got hurt and they're complicit in it, right? I'm not saying that never ever in any case doesn't black magic exist and that there aren't rituals that potentially are really calling upon this thing, but I would not be surprised if the vast majority of them were just as fake and theatrical, right? And it's really just a blackmail operation.
What do you mean by blackmail?
Oh, like to blackmail them, right? Like so.
Okay,
yeah,
got
yeah.
it.
Not blackmail. No.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. Like we got to come up with a better word. So there's probably a better word.
Yes, I agree.
Extortion. But yeah. Those words. Yeah,
our language kind of sucks in some aspects.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to go back to, unless you wanted to add something to it. I don't want to cut you off. Did you want to add something to that?
Not really at this point.
Yeah.
If I had something, it's gone.
Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to continue a thread that I started before, which is how language operates and how you can how many lies you can tell with language versus how much truth you can tell, and you can tell way more lies than truth, and so I was looking for what systems are more accurate, right? What systems can more accurately describe reality than language can, right? And language has so many, like one of these themes that I work on is exploiting the gaps, right? So if there's gaps in the language, right? This is kind of where like all of sitcoms, right, are all based on misunderstanding. That's where all the comedy comes from. Right? Yep. I was doing this and you saw me doing this and you thought it was this other thing, and wham bam, suddenly we have a half hour of canned laughter about a simple misunderstanding. And what's funny is like the majority of it would not ever be an issue if the two parties just spoke clearly to each other at the very beginning, but it's all like
exactly. They all just assumptions, and they don't discuss things, and the universe falls apart forever. And then they patch it all up and everything's
gossip and secrets and he said, she said, and then at the end of it, maybe the things got resolved and a lesson got learned, but no lesson ever got learned, because next week at your same bat channel, same bat thing, they're gonna do the same thing, and they never. Oh God. Let me just. One of these things, X-Files, right? How long did that run? Like 8 years, 9 years?
I don't remember, but quite a while.
Yeah, like 9, 10 seasons, right? The thing that just started to get to me was like, Scully never learns, right?
You'd sit there thinking, geez, after all this time, you'd think she'd get a clue.
She just never learns. It's just, and so it went to the point of being like hard to watch. It was absurd. It was just like, no, any other human, but this many life experiences, this much evidence in front of your face. And I know that they try to like, massage it this way and that way. She didn't really see it, or she was like, she thought she was, no, come on. There's enough that she saw, and was party to, where she would have woken up to certain realities. Yeah. But it was like, no, it's like an android, just back to factory settings for every episode. So I thought that was an insult to her character.
I agree. You think at some point she'd go, I'm seeing this pattern here. And maybe I haven't had direct experience that I remember, or, but there's a pattern here and it must mean something. But no, it just can't be. No.
In a way, I think like she was also this representative of the kind of folks I was talking about earlier, which are like, all right, you saw examples A, B, and C. How come you're not extrapolating to examples D, E, and F that just happened? Like, how come you carried nothing over from there? All right,
exactly.
It's like which reminds me of a thing that I heard around. Like I'm big into critiques of compulsory schooling, and so this is a thing that I think I'd heard before, but I had forgotten about. Right, that the bell. The way that they do the loud bell at the end of each period is actually designed to clear your mind and make you forget everything you just learned. Have you heard of that?
I hadn't heard that. No, but does this surprise me? No.
It's somewhere along the line that Pavlovian response that button gets created in people, right? To where like they're focused, they're in it, they're in the flow, right? But somehow they got it figured out. What's the time period? What's the perfect time to ring the bell and do the disruption to knock out of people's minds as much as possible and get them moving on to the next thing.
Right.
Because it's like, you know that you are about to change topics, right? You're going to go, and for some reason, you're going to go from math to history. But then, like, on some days, you're going to go from math into gym class, right? So, like my kid is in school right now, and the schedule is so messed up. Like, every day, it's a different schedule. So there's not even a rhythm that a static rhythm. Now, there is, but it's on Monday and Friday, Tuesday and Thursday, but Tuesday and Thursday are somehow different from each other. And Wednesday is this odd day where it's all mixed up. And yeah, I think that these things are, it's all designed to slow down the process. It's all busy work, right? It's all, and the real education is not in the content, it's in the conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the thing that I'm interested in discovering is the fact that they have these whacked out schedules, because when I was in school, I had X first period, Y second period, Z third period through the day, but it was the same Monday through Friday.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
I didn't have.
Yeah, I think that this is a new thing, and I don't know if it's a Common Core thing or a school by school thing or what, but
probably to promote ADD.
It kind of is. Yeah. I mean, on top of on top of that, it's already gosh, I mean, I have so many critiques of compulsory schooling, and again, I'm going to go back to where I've landed in terms of principles, which is everybody needs to take responsibility for their own education, their own minds, their own bodies, their own medicine, their own health, to whatever extent that they can, and stop outsourcing it to irresponsible parties who will work on you more for money than for your benefit.
Yes.
And there's just something really, something. It's gone far, and it's very, very wrong.
I agree.
And I know that there's a lot of good movements and a lot of good people promoting these ideas, and I'm very much encouraged by constantly finding them and running into them. But we're up against a very big system that thinks the opposite of that.
I wrote an article about that. It's called Thoughts About Teaching Children. And I discuss exactly that, how, do is focus the first few years, maybe a year, depending on the individual, on learning the very basics. Learn to read, learn to write, learn some math, and then let them go on the web and study what interests them, because I'll tell you something, if you're learning something that interests you, you are going to learn it a lot better than if you're being forced to plow through something that you have no interest in whatsoever.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the solution, right? But we're up against a monster of a system with a ton of weight behind it and a ton of momentum. And a ton of propaganda. And it's like, I was thinking the other day, something about, our school needs more money, right? Like, our school is not achieving, therefore what we need is more money.
Right.
And again, that's that thing where people don't learn. They don't learn. They, fool me once, fool me twice, don't fool me again. Right? That's the that George Bush impression there, right? But it's like, money doesn't fix this thing, right? A change of approach fixes it, right? Structural change, attitudinal change fixes it, but radical attitudinal change. But of course, there's the gap that gets exploited, right? Where somebody realizes, okay, radical change needs to happen. Well, then we're gonna get rid of No Child Left Behind and bring in Common Core, and that's the radical change, right? It's the sheep in wolf's clothing, and it's like, gosh, is it even worse than No Child Left Behind? It might be, right? Not to say that, and of course, right, 80-20, like 80% of that is going to have either the same good things or some other good improved things, but then there's going to be this 10-20% that is poison, that is toxic, and that's how they sneak in the deteriorating components. Until the next time, right? And then they do an assessment and like, hey, this thing's failing. Could it be all the toxins that we snuck in? Hey, let's overhaul the thing and sneak in some more toxins. So.
Yeah. Well, when you have psychopaths in control, they're not interested in well-educated thinking human beings. They're interested in robotic workers. Mm-hmm. Thus the effort to move us towards a robotic society, not of real robots, but of people who are performing robotic function.
Oh, you know what though? Did I send that to you? I think I might have sent it to Andy. I don't know if I sent it to you. It's from Stellan TV. It's a guy named Paris Tosin, Tosin, Tosen. I think he's out of Canada. Like another one of these, small channel, just a guy with this camera speaking his truth. Most people will go to his site and go, "Hey, that guy's a whack job." I go to his site and I go, "I'm going to listen to this guy because I like his." I just like the cut of his jib. I'll put it that way.
Right.
And just because I like the cut of his jib doesn't mean I'm going to go and agree with everything that this guy's saying. Exactly. I'm going to say, hey, I think he thinks he believes what he's saying, and he seems sincere to me. And he may be right, he may be wrong about some things, but you know what? He's a human being. He's super interesting. I'm going to listen to him. But he had come out with this thing about, and he has a lot of challenging, sort of outlandish, extraterrestrial. No, he calls them stellans, star people, and his.
Okay.
Yeah, he sort of rails against this idea of calling. Of the idea of an alien or extraterrestrial, right? He wants to sort of reframe that discussion about, like, because that's distancing, right? But it's this idea of, let's say there's stellar cultures and somehow they can communicate with us, right? So they're not really alien. And what if they've been communicating with people throughout history? Maybe that's where some of the geniuses have gotten their good ideas from, is talking with star people that have buddied up with them and said, hey, I'll slip you some cool technology, some cool ideas, and you can work on them and help your community with them. That's plausible to me. Anyway, but my point though, sorry, I always get hard, long road to get to my point, which is he made this movie about androids and he focused on a couple, like some people actually might be androids, but he's arguing sort of something similar to what you're arguing, in that they're flesh and blood normal folks, but and maybe they're psychopathic, or maybe they were the psychopathy was induced or something, where they got programmed, rewired, and now then they got put into position. So he thinks Nancy Pelosi is one of these. He thinks Bacchus, Lieberman, and he shows this really interesting footage of press conferences, right, where Nancy Pelosi and Lieberman or Bacchus will be to the left or right of whoever's at the podium, and they'll be doing this eye blinking thing that almost looks like Morse code. The blink rates are weird; they're crazy. There's way more to it than I can summarize right now, but I don't know. I like these sorts of outland, reality is stranger than fiction kind of a thing, right? Where this, wow, that's weird. That's just weird enough that might be true. Yeah,
exactly. Certainly, I would love to take some of that input and ask if it explains what I see. Yeah. And then I'll place my probabilities based on that.
Yeah, totally.
So,
there's I don't know if you know who Nancy Pelosi is, right?
Yep.
Kind of a creepy lady
from California.
She's there's something really strange about that lady, and I agree. I think it goes beyond just being, I think she is sort of narcissistic, psychopathic, whether natural or induced.
She's drunk all the time.
She's what?
It's like she's drunk all the time.
I think I'm going to tend towards heavily medicated with exotic medications.
That could be.
I think she's a walking, she's a walking petri dish experiment kind of a thing, where, like a real life Manchurian Candidate kind of a thing. Like she's so
been in there a really long time, 3 decades. She's been in.
Yeah, and that's, maybe that's part of the success of the experiment is like how can you have a Manchurian Candidate with that much staying power? No, what my mind just slipped into was
it's like John McCain. He's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I would say he's the same kind of thing. My mind just slipped into believing for a second that she got voted in, and that the votes mattered and they counted and she actually
You slipped for a second there.
Yeah, I totally slipped.
Really?
Come back to it.
Yeah. Lady Zaga just found the artificial humans living among us, and then she's Karen's bringing up the Saudi Arabia thing that we talked about.
Oh yes, the latest citizen on the planet. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a big deal. That this is the first sort of robot that has gotten citizenship in any country. I'm not sure.
Yes.
And out of all countries in the world, Saudi Arabia.
It's pretty freaky.
And that she's female. Well, I mean, she's an AI, right? So is she female? Is she not? Right?
She's got a female countenance, at any rate.
Right. But is robot gender is going to be an interesting enough sort of topic.
Are they going to make her wear the burqa and all that?
Well, no. The images I saw of her, right? The brain area where the brain would be. This is like a clear plastic dome thing. So
True.
I mean, I'm trying to be funny, but what kind of an animal would cover that beautiful thing up with a burqa?
Really.
All right, let's see. I was trying. Elon Musk says to be scared. I figured I would just glance over at the.
Stranger Things is a very odd show. It's got mind control and MK Ultra stuff.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one.
Interdimensional travel. It's got it all. It's quite the show.
Considering I don't have a TV, I don't watch one, although my friend watches occasionally, and you might hear it in the background. I never watch TV ever, and haven't for decades.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, YouTube is kind of like TV, but you mean strict TV.
Yeah, I watch YouTube, but my job is to determine which of the people are putting out honest content, and which of the people are putting out content that is for an agenda. We all know at this point, or at least we should, that Alex Jones is out there putting stuff out for an agenda.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can we get back? So, do you think I kept that one in the undecided pile for a while, but I'm sort of leaning more towards, wow, what a great magic act Bill Hicks did in creating Alex Jones. I'm somewhat convinced. I'm convinced that it's possible. How about that? I'm convinced that it's possible, and I'm leaning towards that it has a fair degree of probability that
he says he's early 40s, but he looks way older than that.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
And there's a lot of the you know, the Waco connection, the fact that they have the same best friend,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I mean, it's
Well, he even did an interview where they were mocking the whole idea
mhm.
about him
Yes.
being Bill Hicks, okay?
Right.
And he was saying, "Yeah, I'm Bill Hicks. I'm Bill Hicks," and he kept repeating it. "Yeah, I'm Bill Hicks." It's like
Well,
he's
yeah,
telling
I would just say, like,
it,
okay,
where
let's
you
say,
think he's joking, but he's actually telling you.
well, that's the thing is like
That's
if
that part of the language and double speak you were speaking of
exactly
earlier.
right, if he really did it, then you would expect that then he would have an episode where he does it and pretends to be lying, and again, it's a layer, it's a
Yep.
reverse inversion kind of thing, right? He's inverting and then reversing. Um,
Yeah, he's using reverse psychology,
yeah.
Exactly.
making it seem like it's all just a big joke when in reality,
But
we don't know for sure. I mean, we can't really say definitively, but my bet is on that he is Bill Hicks.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I give highest probability to them being the same person.
well, okay, so let's roll with that, right? Because then what is because I was a big Bill Hicks
Oh
fan
yeah, me too.
when I thought Bill Hicks was just Bill Hicks, right? And
Yep.
then I was an Alex Jones fan in the early days when he was sort of out in front,
Yep.
out ahead of the curve, right? Um, and so I'm fascinated by that. This like really dovetails into that faux reality thing, right?
Now, Sandra just said there are lots of different photos of Alex Jones and Bill Hicks from their childhood. Now, I don't know when they released. Now, there's actual film footage of the original Alex Jones doing a small little radio gig
Mhm.
in Texas. And then all of a sudden, 1 year or less than 2 years later, he got heavier. He got
Those
his
look
voice
like two
changed
different
a little
people.
bit.
Yeah.
So if you look into
So
it, I mean, there is some compelling evidence there.
Yeah.
We're not just saying this out of just on a whim.
yeah,
Like, I've actually
it
looked
looked
into
like
this.
like maybe Bill Hicks took over the persona of
That's right.
Alex Jones.
Because Alex
Yeah.
Jones was real in the beginning,
Right.
and then they couldn't have that.
That's
He was
why
getting in popularity, so they switched them up, and they probably just offed the real Alex. Who knows? We don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
That's my
Or
guess.
retired.
But I mean, or retired, or got bought off, or whatever.
Yeah. I'm interested in if that is the case, how do these things get pulled off, and how do they persist, and how do they continue to put on the show, right? I mean, if you think about it now, like there's right now as we speak, there's hundreds of tens of thousands of 10, 12-year-old boys having the age-old debate of whether pro wrestling is real or fake.
Well,
right?
if it was real, you wouldn't have anybody wrestling. They'd all be in the hospital together.
Exactly.
So,
but they're having that I'm just saying they're having that debate, right? Because the name of the game of that show is the idea of blurring the line between real and fake, right? And
Right.
if wrestling was real, it would be like a karaoke night. You'd have a different entertainer every night because they'd all be hurt. I mean, if somebody pile drives you,
of course.
I mean, you're going to be either dead or B. Anyway, sorry.
I'm just saying that's why I said 10 to 12-year-old kids doing that, right? But I think that we're like adults having the same sort of discussion of is it real, is it fake, around a more sophisticated scenario, right?
Yes.
And I wonder how much of that is an overarching plan, and an entire social engineering milieu right? That is concocted.
Right.
I can't help but think that there's a good chance that all of this is in the service of creating confusion. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Confusion and cognitive detachment on
Dissonance.
dissonance on all these levels, right? So we're never quite sure of anything, and so like every choice looks as good as any other choice, and no decision really has that much. That much more
Import.
weight or import than
Yeah.
any other decision. And
Yeah.
Good point, Sandra. How would a guy like Alex Jones be able to get into the Bohemian Grove anyways? I mean,
right.
and film it,
Yes.
and yeah. Oh, I'm with the hillbillies, you said, when they got caught. They said they went across the river or something. I don't know. Like, kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It was all.
We don't really. That's the part that really bugs me because we don't even know if that's actually real footage or not, right?
Yeah. Really.
It
We
could be
don't
from
know.
somewhere else. We don't even know, right? It could
Oh,
be from
totally, right.
Yeah, it could be a sound stage somewhere.
Could be in a South Pacific somewhere on an island. Who knows? We don't know.
Yeah. And so I guess, let's see, this is the 2-hour warm up to what I was actually going to start with. So let me get down. Let me get down to the
nitty-gritty here, man.
Yeah,
Okay,
the screen sharing and the presentation and all of that. And,
I'm going to set you up here so that you are on the screen at all times.
Okay.
And go for
Very
it.
cool. All right. Yeah. So so just to sort of loop back in the thing I was mentioning around when I looked at language, really took a hard critical look at language. I realized there was so many. It was so loose. It was so plastic that you can't really rely on it for accuracy. And so so I started looking at, well, what can you rely on for accuracy? Well, I think the next place that you might want to look to is something like mathematics. Yeah. And but you all can be chiming in, and this can be a discussion the whole time. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't need you to be muted or out of the conversation. I actually like a lot the feel of this. So it's not really formal.
Awesome. Yeah. Mathematics has a place definitely in defining some concrete elements. The only problem is that you can then take mathematics and fiddle with it to the point where you can explain everything in terms that have no connection to reality.
Yeah, and I found that is a way that the modern mathematical landscape looks like, and there's several physicists and philosophers who have nicknamed it mythomagics, right? Like mythomagical.
Yes.
Right. So Einstein in physics is mythomagic, right? Because it really loads heavily on not on experimentation and physical evidence, but on, hey, if the formulas work out and they seem like they got enough truthiness going for them, then we can take them seriously, right? But I think that's kind of it's a slippery slope, right? Where I think there's something like mathematical poetry or poetics, where you sort of can use numbers and principles of mathematics to do the same kind of thing, like the same kind of poetics that you can with words, right? And they don't necessarily relate to to physics or chemistry or reality, right? And but yet they purport to.
Yep. Yes.
Certain numbers relate to how certain things come about. Like, for instance, phi, not pi, but phi, right? That's the golden ratio number, right? And when you hit that number, magic happens.
Yeah.
Not really magic, but magic to us because we don't understand, right?
Yeah.
But things happen. Energy is created, and it can do, you know, mystical things, right?
Yeah. Well,
that's why it's such an important number, right?
Okay.
Especially when it comes to the Fibonacci sequence, it's all based on that number, right?
That's right. And I'm this is the Fibonacci sequence and the phi ratio is one of these things that that I've been studying and looking at for about 16 years now. And so, and I have a claim to make, and that is that that the way that we tend to eat. Okay, so despite it not being all that popular, right? Like a lot of people have heard about it, right? And it cropped up as a very important feature in, let's say, mystery school traditions, esoteric traditions, where people were introduced and taught this thing as something that was other than, you know, there was something special and magical about it, right? So it wasn't distributed, it wasn't common knowledge, right? And it's still not common knowledge. It's still reserved in a place of, I don't know, it's sort of still
secret societies.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
where they keep all of this knowledge to themselves and don't let us have it, because if we do have it, then we can use it, and that's not to their benefit.
Right.
Because we could make this world a beautiful, wonderful place for everybody, and with this stuff that they keep hidden from us. So, like Amy says, free energy, that right there would change this entire planet. It would turn us upside down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it would create a utopia where we wouldn't have to kill fish. We wouldn't have to do all this stuff.
Not a utopia, but certainly a hell of a lot better than what we've got now.
I think that well, it's utopian. It's a utopian vision, and I think a utopian vision is a beautiful vision to hold and work towards. And what the world like you can't do it too idealistically, right? Because the world, if anybody's paying attention, there's a lot of friction in the world, and there's a lot of just sort of natural difficulties that will come at you, whether they're planned or orchestrated or not. It's just the nature of the beast, right? It's just going to happen. Nothing is that easy, right? And the truer and the more beautiful a thing is, in some sense, the more enemies that thing is going to have. Yeah. Okay. All right. And so I want to show you what I came up with, which is a new way of showing the Fibonacci sequence. And let me find the best possible diagram. Okay. I'm going to go with the simpler one first. Okay. All right. I'm going to do a screen share now.
Okay.
Application window, not a word. And when I do the screen share, will you be able to see my mouse? I would hope so.
Probably.
You see my mouse doing things?
No. Actually, I don't.
No?
But it is
okay. How about
pretty
now?
white, so it's hard to tell.
How about now? You see my mouse?
No.
Okay. Well,
nope.
Doesn't matter. Do you see two large circles and then a bunch of circles inside the circles?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll just start here, right? So the one at the top represents the Fibonacci sequence up to 8. Yeah. So if you look at just count the small circles, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have 1 plus 1, that's 2, right? Then plus 1, that's 3. Then plus 2, that's 5. Then plus 3, there's 8. Yeah.
Right.
And if you keep going and building that way, yeah, where you see that gosh, I wish my mouse could be working on this, but because that'd be great to be able to point to it. But
can you zoom in on that? Because the lines are actually rather thin, and it's kind of hard to see.
Kind of gotta look deep into it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. Let's see. Let me. Oh, you know what? Let me try this. Let me try to screen share something else, and maybe this will actually work a lot better. You are screen sharing. I want to stop screen sharing. Okay.
Oh, there you go. That's better.
Screen sharing. Okay. Let me just try to do it straight out of Illustrator, because this way I can just build it, and it'll be. Sorry, bear with me here.
Not a problem.
Okay. Yeah. It just takes a second to set up the parameters, and I'll try to screen share again, application window, and artwork, and share. Okay. All right. And do you see a gridded square?
Yes.
And you see it zoom in, and do you see the cursor on this?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so this is a great place to.
Yep.
This is a great way to do it then. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and so here's the idea, right? So I was thinking about what is the simplest, most basic possible form or shape that can exist in the world. What would take a stab? What would it be for you?
Circle.
Mm-hmm.
Circle.
Agreed. That's where I landed too, right? Because a circle, like, despite mathematically sometimes being
If you leave a block sitting out in the desert for 1,000 years, that block will probably be a circle eventually.
Yep.
Yeah, a sphere. Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it would erode away.
Yeah, it'll turn into a mound, but if you're looking at it
away
from top down, it would have
maybe not perfect circle, but
yeah. There's no such thing as a perfect circle, right? A perfect circle is.
Well, that's a band, right?
Yeah. It's quite. Yeah. I'm a fan of Maynard and Tool, and
he goes deep into the occult and stuff as well.
Oh yeah. I'm big fan of how he collaborated with the artist.
Fran Resner.
No, like a painter, artist guy who did the cover of Lateralis. It'll come to me. Yeah. Okay. So at one point, so I had been an artist and a designer for a couple of years, and I was doing all kinds of crazy abstract stuff. I was pushing the envelope in terms of like web design, not web design, but like, you know, what is the future of design going to look like, and all of this, and I thought, you know what, let me. And I was really like into asymmetry and really into like just weirdness and strangeness, and then I finally kind of got bored with that, and I thought, what if I just flip it completely on its, what if it's time to just flip and do the exact opposite? So what if I just start with the simplest thing I can possibly think of, and then see how far I can take that to all of its logical conclusions. And so I had to land on the idea of a circle, right? And so I thought, I asked myself the question, I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend the next couple months trying to answer the question of, let me try to find out everything that a circle can do. Yeah. And by this time I'd already been hip to like the flower of life pattern, right? So I knew that there was something there, right? But I had kind of avoided the circle because it was like, I was kind of snobbish about it. And I was like, yeah, but it's simple, it's easy. And you know, what can I possibly learn from this? I'm already beyond this. Yeah. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm not beyond this. I'm not beyond this. Let me tackle it. Let me take an earnest stab at this. And so I started. Okay. And so okay, you take a circle, right? That's represented by 1, yeah?
Right.
Or 1 can represent it, right? Well, what's the next logical step, right? You make 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Now overlap those 2 together equally.
yeah, overlap them. Well, you can overlap them equally, and then you get the vesica piscis. Yeah,
The vesica Pisces.
Yeah, I'm hip to that. I'm hip to that idea. Let me.
That's the reality we live in. See, if you take the first circle and put it over top of the bottom, the top circle, put over top of the bottom circle, halfway in between, and if you create the line, there you go.
Yep.
That's the reality we're in right now. Is that inner part right there?
Yeah. So I'm hip to that idea, and
that's why the Pope has that shape on his hat.
Yeah, there's that, and I mean it's also a football, right?
Yeah.
So if you spin it one way, it's the shape of a football. And if you spin it the other way, it's the shape of a UFO, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
In 3D. Right? Okay, but let me do my little pattern here, or let me show you the demonstration. Okay, so here's 1 and 1, right? There's your 1 1. Huh?
Just make a really quick suggestion. Can you increase the stroke on those?
Sure.
Make them a little darker.
Yeah.
All right.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a delicate creature. I like delicate lines, but
not a problem.
But this will work better for YouTube video.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for the suggestion. Okay. So here's basically how it goes, right? So 1 and 1. That's your 1 1 of the Fibonacci sequence, right? 1 plus 1 is 2, right? And then you get your 2. Then you take 2 and you add 1, right? And then we're gonna go ahead and frame that. I'll tell you later why we're even framing it, or doing that, right? And then we're taking this inside bit, right? So we have 3. Now we're adding 2, yeah, because we're taking the previous, right? And now we have 5. And then we take the 3 from the inside, and then we add that here. And like so. Okay. And so here we have our first 8. Yeah.
Yep.
So 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. And it continues to, I won't, well, I can actually do this quickly. So, all right. Then 8 plus 5 will be 13. And it goes on like that. You just keep doing that process. And
Very nice.
And you've illustrated the Fibonacci sequence in only circles, right? You've actually applied no symbols to it in any way, right? No 1, 2, 3, like the symbols for 1, 2, 3, or 5, or 8.
Right.
You've done it only with, you know, 1 unit, and how can 1 unit change in space, in position to demonstrate the Fibonacci sequence, right? And it actually gets interesting on a lot of dimensions because you can count it from the outside in, right? So here's the 1, here's another 1, right? There's going to be 2 this size, right? There's your 2. There's going to be 3 this size, right? So you get your 1,
Nice.
1, 2, 3. You know, there's going to be guaranteed every single time. There's going to be 5 of these, right? And then there's going to be 8 that are this size, right? So it shows how the Fibonacci sequence works, or the phi ratio works inside, outside.
That was really hard. So.
That's beautiful. I mean, that is just beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. And so it keeps going. I think a magical thing happens when you get into 12 iterations, right? Because it's 144, which also happens to be 12 by 12, right? So it's 12 squared, it's 144. There's a lot of stuff that happens around 144.
I think it was Washington's 144 square, or Franklin, one of those two. He had a 144 square. See if I
well, there are the magical Franklin's magical squares, and that's a whole other topic. Yeah. Super interesting, but not part of the main point that I'm trying to make here, right? But what one of my points is: have you ever seen this before? Right? Have you ever seen anybody demonstrate this? Have you ever seen this in a textbook? Have you ever seen it written on drawn on a chalkboard? Have you ever heard of anybody explain it this way?
Nope.
Right? Okay, and here's where I'm just absolutely baffled, right? Because this is so simple. Look how simple this is, right? And look how it shows this, like a 5-year-old could understand this, right? So this is where that question of conspiracy or not comes in, right? If this thing is true, I cannot be the first person in the history of people to have ever come up with this. The probability of that is.
I agree.
It's impossible, right? So what's going on? Is this thing actively being suppressed, right?
Likely.
I don't know. I mean, there's like this part of me where it doesn't want to believe in a conspiracy that big, but then again, why not, right? But anyway, I feel like
I think that this conspiracy really is that big. Okay,
I think it might be. I think it might be. I think you might be right. But I'm just saying, like, there's a part of me that just doesn't want it to be that big. You know what I mean? But there's this other part of me that's like, oh, I think I can admit that, yeah, it might just be that big, right?
Yeah, well, I went through that stage where I really didn't want to give high probability to the conspiracy being that big. But the more evidence that I collected and the more it explained what I saw, I had to say, this has got to have high probability. Okay, I give a really teeny weeny itsy bitsy probability that it's not, but it is so close to zero at this point. I call it zero.
Yeah. So I'm trying to scroll through and land on. Okay, is this one showing up pretty well?
Yeah, that one's showing up reasonably. I don't know whether the people in the the chat can see it, but I'm sure they'll let us know if they can't.
Let me see if they're actually. Oh, it just went like that. But there we go. I can make it. If I zoom it in over here, then that probably helps. Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, great. All right. So basically, what this led me to is a form of logic of just taking something, anything, a unit, right? This circle, right, becomes a unit, right? It represents the ultimate, simplest, most beautiful unit that could ever be worked with or started with, yeah. And so again, like, what is everything that this could possibly do? Well, this is just another variation of if it goes 8 tall, yeah. You're looking at. I'll get back to the idea of the kernel in here, right? Of the 2 circles, the 2 same size circles, and the 1 circle surrounding that, right? Because I think that this is the key. This is the absolute key, because that little bit happens in every single variation that I've come up with, and so it. Anyway, it's loaded. It's absolutely loaded, like a seed of an oak tree, right?
Right.
It has all of the information, like in compressed down into that little tiny thing is all the information to manifest this really big thing, right? So that sort of thing is in play here, right? So this version is of the algorithm, or this is just a simple arithmetic progression, right? Where it's just 1 plus 1 plus 1, right? Is 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8, yeah? But what it does is it also works in terms of areas, yeah? So that first circle, at the very base, the smallest first circle, right? Let's say that has an area of 1, yeah? The next biggest circle will have an area of 4. The next one will have an area of 9. So you're just squaring them, right? So you've seen.
Nice.
So it's the same thing that you do with squares when you multiply them, right? When you take a square and you double its length and you double its width, right? You don't get 2, you get 4, right? Because you've doubled. Well, it turns out that circles behave in this exact same way, right? And so this next one is going to be 16. The next one's going to be 25. The next one's going to be 36. The next one's going to be 49, right? 7 by 7. Right. The next one is going to be 64.
64.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it also works with volumes, right? If you assume that the circle that you're looking at, that first one, let's say that has a unit value of 1 area cubed, yeah, then the next one is going to be 8, yeah.
The volume, right?
The next one's going to be 27, and the next one after that I think is going to be what, 64, and then I don't have the notes in front of me, but
right, but follow the procedure and you'll get the answer. Yep.
exactly. Right. So what this ended up doing to me is, like, once I realized that, oh my gosh, it's this simple, it's this gorgeous, it's this beautiful. I did, when I discovered this, I actually wept. I wept on.
Oh, I bet.
Because
It's glorious.
because it was like seeing, like, truth itself, you know, illustrated in front of my eyes through my hands and my abilities and my cognition. Somehow was able to manifest this in front of me, and it was magical. It was beautiful. It was
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think I'm landing on this place where I basically want to do this for the rest of my life. I think I want to share this idea with people for the rest of my life. I think that it's simple enough, but it's complex.
Absolutely.
And by the way, and this is, I wish Aaron was here. I'm sure he's going to be watching, but I figured out, so using the same logic, the same pattern, right? This is how music works, right? This is why you have two keys.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Then three black keys, then two black keys, then three black keys. This is why, because it is the phi ratio. It is the Fibonacci sequence.
Wow, that's amazing.
Nice.
It has everything to do with why octaves are octaves, why the decimal system is the decimal system, why the standard system is the standard system, why 13 relates to 12. It just gosh, would you all mind? Okay. Oh, and here's where it gets awesome. All right. So that, sorry to be just scrolling wildly here, but let's go to that core thing at the very beginning, right? Which is, sorry, we'll go straight to here. Okay, this right here. Like, and again, conspiracy or not, right? Has anybody ever shown you that diagram, you know, that simple thing, and said, that's a really important thing? Like, that is a fundamental that you need to get to know.
Well, you know what's funny about it too? If you look at the whole thing, it's an 8-ball.
It's an 8-ball. It is. And its volume is 8.
And your 8-ball is the end game ball, and you know, like it's
When I look at it, I see the male and female principle producing the fullness of things.
Yeah. And okay, so when you, okay, so if you know that the area of that first circle, right, is 1, then you know that if you've doubled it, right, that the one that is above it, then that must also be 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be the same, right?
Yeah.
And you know, if you're squaring it, right, that the area of the biggest circle is 4, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, you know that the 2 flaps on either side, or the 2 wings on either side, right, together, like they must equal 2, and therefore each one must equal 1, right? And so, like, have you ever,
that's right,
for example, seen that? I'm going to try to. I'm going to go back into Illustrator real quick here. And yeah, so you see that. See that basic.
Well, you're not sharing screens at the moment.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So no, we don't see a thing except your face.
All right, but you saw me be excited, so that.
Oh yeah.
You looked really excited.
That's
like a kid in a candy store.
You know what? It's funny.
That's what you remind me of. You've stumbled upon something that's just
Oh yeah, I can't help but think
Mind-boggling, but
how
simple.
beautiful this is, and I've been holding on to this for quite a while, and I've been thinking like, is it even safe to go out and tell people about this? Is somebody gonna try to shut me up? And I figured, you know what? I'm just gonna keep working, and I'm gonna explore it to its undeniable, bulletproof.
Awesomely
And,
elegant.
yeah,
Awesomely elegant.
and by the way, and I told you this before, Amy, I don't own this thing. I'm never going to copyright this. I'm never going to try to do anything greedy around it other than use it as a platform to maybe, like, get invited places to talk about it and show it because
Well, there you go.
because I know about it and I've spent so much time with it. But
Yeah.
but other than that, right? I don't. This thing came through me, and I'm its custodian. I'm its representative. It owns me. I don't own it. It.
Yep.
It's bigger than me. Uh, yeah. Anyway, so you see that you can see my cursor. Yeah. Okay. See here it is in here, but it also repeats itself in here. It repeats itself in here.
I was just looking at that, and I noticed that as it goes up, it repeats itself, and then there is a single circle in between each repetition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fractal, right?
Yes.
This is like, okay. Do you all remember when fractals came out?
Yep.
Like the Mandelbrot set, when they finally had the computational power of a computer to get fractals to show up in some kind of a competent way, right?
Yep.
I know a little bit about the background around that, where we're like French mathematician Poincaré had
Yep.
actually stumbled upon this, right? And he started plotting it, and he started to get the ghost of something happening, but what he needed to do was like 3 to 5 more million iterations before he got an image to show up, right? Where a computer can do that and like crunch that in like
milliseconds. Yeah. Yes.
So it wasn't until technology caught up that it was able to just pop into existence, right? And in a way, like, this whole thing maybe couldn't. Okay, I think this could have shown up. I think this actually did show up in ancient times. I think the ancients knew about this, no problem.
I don't doubt it.
I think everything was based on this. I think that this is actually the thing that might have gotten hidden away. Let me show you this. All right. It's the Holy Grail. Okay, let me tell you a little story. It's like this. Let's say the Holy Grail really was a cup. Yeah? Let's say it really was like a chalice made of gold, or whether it was simple or bejeweled or whatever, right? Let's say that that's what it was. And let's say that it held, it carried the blood of somebody or something from somewhere to somewhere else, yeah? And let's say that it got discovered, right? Like, and then somehow authenticated, right? Well, what would happen then, right? Well, it might end up in some museum, right? It might end up at the British Museum or at the Smithsonian, or it might make a world tour. Okay. Let's say then tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of people come out and view this cup. Yeah. And they look at it and they go, it's a cup. Yeah. I saw the cup. And they could tell people around the water cooler, oh yeah, I went to the show and I saw the cup. I saw the Grail.
Yep.
Right? But what would it actually do for them? Like, would it do anything? It's like,
yeah,
it would be like just like any other thing, right? I went to go see the tomb of of Tutankhamun. I went and saw the Monet exhibit when it came through, right? It would be just like any other thing. And of course, there would be all the people that go, that's not the real one. And, well, no, but I believe it's the real one. Or like the Shroud of Turin, right? That kind of a phenomenon. And it would just fade into obscurity, or, it would just become a part of the mundane fabric of everyday life, right?
Yep.
And but I think this thing, right, if identified properly as the Holy Grail itself, right, I think this could actually change things. That the Holy Grail is the phi ratio, and the phi ratio is the Holy Grail, and the knowledge of the phi ratio is the thing that turns water into wine. It is the thing that turns lead into gold, right?
Yeah.
It's the knowledge, the pattern of beauty, that this is evidence that if this thing exists in the world and can be drawn so simply and understood by a 5-year-old and understood by an 80-year-old instantaneously, and you can just see the beauty in this, right?
Oh, it's
immediately
stunning.
Right? You can see. Let me do a different. Let me do a different screen share. Let me just go back to that thing that I was doing for. Okay, because I have. It is okay. So here's the Mandelbrot set.
Yep.
Right? You see the relationship, right? I mean, you can see.
Oh, yeah.
I have one that has the two overlaid next to each, one on top of the other. Guess what? They lock. They phase lock, right?
Nice.
Here, this is called the Buddha-brot, right? And this is a different way of rendering and calculating the Mandelbrot set, where the whole interior gets sussed out or filled out, right?
Wow, nice.
That's really neat.
Yeah, this thing lines up perfectly, right? We'll get back to that. But things like, you take that and you place it over things. I've done this thing where I've taken that as a wireframe, and I went to like Egyptian hieroglyphics, and I just started placing that as a filter over various inscriptions, various drawings of gods and this. And guess what? Their arms and legs and the angles at which their arms relate to each other, it all lines up. It's phenomenal. Okay, it's the I Ching, right? I mean, the I Ching, the
yin and yang,
the yin yang, the Tai Chi Tu, right, which is called the supreme ultimate. Yeah,
right.
This is that seed that builds both the Fibonacci sequence and the exponential function and the and the arithmetic function, which is kind of like the three main ways of counting, or that math and geometry exist in the world. Anyway, one of these ideas is that geometry is actually superior to math, right? Like geometry first, and then math is just the shorthand, right? Numbers and things like that are just the shorthand on top of geometry. Yeah, they're just a way to shortcut calculations. Yeah. Anyway, I'm super excited. I'm super.
Oh, yeah.
I finally got around to this main point here, but all right, let's look at this.
Go back one quick second to that last one you had. No, the yin and yang symbol.
Yeah.
Where those circles are in there?
Well, that's how
what numbers do they line up on that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is. Thank you. It's a great question. Okay, so let's go ahead and.
Can you superimpose that double circle, the 8-ball looking thing, over top of that? I'm just interested in seeing where those.
This is the
numbers. Those circles.
yeah, this is the 8-ball looking thing, right? It's
Yeah, it
right.
is.
Yeah.
If you picture a line around the, if you picture circles in there, yeah,
Yeah. I can
the
probably,
exact same thing.
yeah, probably fastest way to do it is actually,
I want to make a point because a
But I
lot
don't
of
know how
people
big
need
the
this.
little circles are, though. Are they the same size?
I can, let me try to answer this super quick here.
Uh,
Okay.
can I
Go ahead.
just?
Yeah.
I'm just going to interject something here. It's yin yang, not yin yang.
Yin yang. Yeah.
Yes,
I
it's
thought it was
yin
yang
yang.
yang. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
that's what it goes up your yin yang.
Up your yin yang.
Okay. So there's your two circles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. There's your double Vesca Pisces. I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's that. We're going to make them just be the same. Now, if I make this, fill this black, fill this white, and I fill that area in black, and I fill that area in white, then you have your yin yang.
Yeah.
And I can do that
Yep.
real quick this way. X, oh, come on, X and V, and we'll make that one black. Make that come forward, and we'll make that one white, and we'll make that go back, and we'll change that stroke to white or to none, and change that to none. None. Okay, it's I'm trying to go too fast here. I will event. Ah, there it is. Okay. So there's your yin yang. Here's an interesting thing about the dots. If you take a dot of a certain size, and it's a very logical way to do it. If the whole circle is if the area is 100, yeah, then, and a circle and the little dot here would be 1 unit. I mean, you can make it any size that you want, right? But I think there's kind of a sweet spot here, right, where you make it 1 unit, and this one will be 1 unit. What it ends up being is, 100 total. Therefore, half of it is 50, so it's 50-50.
Right.
But if you then subtract these two, then you're dealing with 49, right? And
Right.
49 is 7 by 7.
Right.
So it's a perfect square. There's just a whole, like, once you, here's what my number one piece of like takeaway would be. It would be, take the basics of this concept. Get yourself either Illustrator or a program similar to this. And then just start playing, start doing, start thinking, and follow your own path of what's the next question that the thing is asking you that it wants to reveal about itself. That makes sense, yeah? And you do that, and then it just leads to the next question, and the next one, and the next one, and before you know, you've spent 12 years on it, and you've learned a hell of a lot, and you've I think, I hope, started applying it to the world around you, and you just start thinking and being more clear about the world. But maybe that's, at least that's how it's worked for me. I would hope that that would be something that would work for other people. I think it would.
I think what you've presented here is absolutely gorgeous. I'm stunned.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah, it's really, really.
Thank you.
I think about it.
Thank you. Gosh, it's like this is one of I am at the end of the day I am a little shy. Once I get going, I can like really warm up, but I am sort of reserved and shy, and really I could have like started, just jumped right into that right off the bat, and in a lot of ways I was thinking that that's what I was going to do when I came on the show. And then I just sort of hemmed and hawed for like 2 hours, and we had really great discussions about good stuff, but yeah, I'd probably have another 2 hours easy to show about going into more detail about.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to have you back.
I guess that means you have to come back.
And maybe this, dragging my feet a little bit was my unconscious ploy to be re-invited, so that I can like look at this, analyze it, really streamline it.
Well, you're more than welcome to come back anytime. It was very interesting. I mean, I've never really looked at that before, so it's the first time I've seen any of this, and I bet everybody in the chat it's the first time you've ever seen anything like this. So.
Okay, so isn't that weird though?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. To be honest with you, Bart, it doesn't surprise me, because did we ever learn about electromagnetic frequencies and sound vibrations in high school?
Yeah.
No, unless you took a specialized.
No. Did I ever learn about them? No.
No, not in mainstream science, but you have to take a specialized course or something, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, no. I mean, that's the things that these people have kept from us, and it's been that way for a very, very long time.
Yeah. And
I don't know if you believe in the Atlantis theories or not. I don't know who originally said Plato, apparently, but or Pluto or whoever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But they had technologies back then that we don't have today, and we can't replicate things that they've done, like the pyramids, the Great Pyramid, right? We can't even replicate that.
Yeah.
And when you're speaking of the phi equation, that's embedded in the pyramid.
Absolutely.
Tons of things are embedded in the pyramid.
I mean, that's the whole basis of that structure, is based on the phi and the Fibonacci ratios and stuff.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It's a living thing. It's actually made of coral limestone, right? And it's actually a living thing.
I have a note here that basically sums up the idea of gosh darn, I had it phrased quite nicely, and it's about when phi is discovered in these various structures, in trees, in waves, in lunation,
shells and leaves,
in everything,
yes.
The beetles and everything.
Yeah, but then especially in man-made stuff, right? It's not the case. It's not always the case that phi was included. It's the case is the point that I would argue is that phi is so powerful, so ever present, that it cannot possibly be excluded, right?
Right.
So no matter what you do, it's going to show up, right? Unless what you do is purposely design things to exclude it, and in which case you would come up with something so disgusting and obtuse that no one would ever want anything to do with it.
Right.
Yes.
So I think there's something like that.
Imperfect, right? Is what the term.
Yeah, like that would be like something that the Podesta brothers would want to put in their art collection, you know.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, these high-end. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, what I mean is the kind of piece of artwork where phi is excluded.
Yes.
Right. Like abstract
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Although
This discordant stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, the clock just struck 7 for me. I am willing to, like, I can go for another hour if you all wanted to. I know that you're not feeling well, Ian, but yeah, and I don't know where you're at, Amy, but
well, we can certainly do a little bit of overtime, but since I'm here and interrupting the TV watching of my friend, I try to keep this as minimal as possible. But if you have a few more things you want to throw in,
gosh, I mean, it's like I'm such a I have a little book that my wife got me here. She got me this for Christmas. It's called, I don't know if you can see it. Let me get the right.
There we go.
Okay, Leo the Late Bloomer. This is how she thinks of me. Right? I bloom late, right? So like I don't get ramped up in a conversation until it's a half hour. I have to laugh. It's just classic me. This is one of these things I have to call out. I have to then like look back at myself. I'm gonna have to shore that up, improve it for next time. But I felt really welcome and really appreciated in this space that you all have created in this little corner of the interwebs. And
well, I really think you should do videos and just go over your findings and stuff and share. I really think you're a good speaker, and I've been listening to you for 3 hours. We let you go, and wasn't any shortage.
Thank you. That is really encouraging, and I was really thinking about this opportunity as like this, bursting through moment for me where I'm sort of handheld by two folks that I came to know and trust Amy very, very quickly, and then I came to know and trust you, Ian, just by watching several of your shows, but without meeting you, I was ready to hand over my other hand into your hand and sort of walk into this other space with you two folks. So I'm really grateful to have been here.
No, it's been really interesting.
Absolutely, and we're hoping that Aaron can be with us the next time around.
Yeah, he should be back next week.
Yeah,
be on his channel again.
Next time we have Bartomon, TheBartomon.
I'll just Bartomon, like
Bartomon.
Yeah, like Pokemon.
Bartomon. Yeah.
I just want to give shout out to the people in the chat tonight. It's been really very talkative chat, that's for sure.
Yes, it is.
Joanne Galvin, thanks for being here. David Lang, these are all our moderators now. Looks like we've got a whole army to kick out the trolls. Karen McCardle, I think she went to bed. Broadsword, yes. Thanks again. Sandra, she's gone to bed, but thanks again. Mark showed up. Global Agenda, thanks. Lady Zaga, pleasure as always. Blue Blood, thanks for being here again.
From Death to Life.
From Death to Life, Greatest Potential. Death to Life, we'd like to have you back on again sometime for a good chat, maybe next week. That'd be awesome. Let us know. Who else am I missing here?
I'm not seeing anybody.
Karen,
Did we get Allison Twist O'Neill?
Yeah. Allison Twist, yeah, she went to bed, but thanks
the big
thanks
P?
again.
The
Big P99. Awesome.
Broadsword.
Yep.
And yeah, a lot of good people showed up tonight. It was awesome.
Yeah, we only had to kick out one
One
idiot.
person, yes.
Yeah, he was going on about this and that.
Yeah, I really took my eye off the chat when I was doing the
Oh yeah,
screen
it's
share
hard
stuff.
to,
But,
it's hard to
That's
concentrate on both.
expected.
yeah, but I'm gonna. I just want to double check to see how this works. You know, I'm probably a little bit more interested, a little bit more invested in, you know, analyzing the whole thing, and because I was, you know, actually involved, right? So, you know, I just study the hell out of anything, right? But I wonder, does the chat stay live? Like,
No, we're
Well, it-
in the broadcast.
the
We'll
chat
still-
stays live, or
No, it won't be live, but we'll still be in the chat.
Yeah, we'll
just
still
won't
be
be
in the
broadcasting.
we'll still be in the hangout. He's talking about the chat. Yes, the chat will stay live for a few minutes after we stop broadcast.
Gotcha.
And you should be able to scroll up and read to a certain extent, but I don't know that you'll be able to read everything that was said tonight. And but until you close it out, you should be able to see whatever it gives you to see.
Is there any way to make the chat a feature of? Okay, so like this is once we're done, we shut this down. Then it becomes a video that's like a 3-hour video that lives on your channel, Amy, right? And then
Right.
like Ian and I or Aaron or anybody, right, can go and download that video and then post it to our channels, right?
Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, what happens to the live chat?
It disappears. It's not there. That's only the live hangout.
I
Yeah.
am led to believe that there are softwares out there that will record the chat for you, but I don't know what they are, and you know,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have them.
I'm just thinking like any communication from any thinking person at any time is gold for somebody somewhere, sometime, right? So in order to, like, if we can save and archive, you know, as much as possible instead of like letting just think. But you know, there's a really good aspect of letting things go and letting them float out into the ether and all of that. But then there's also the flip side of that, of like archiving it. If it can be archived, great, archive it. If you want to access it, access it. If you want to move on and do other things, you go and do other things. But
yeah.
Gosh,
I don't know of any way. I know it disappears once the show uploads. It's gone.
All right, maybe I'll look into it, see if there's anything around that.
So where can people find you? You've got your YouTube channel. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
TheBartomon.
So TheBartomon.
B-A-R-T.
Yeah, no space.
O-M-O-N.
Not like they're gonna find
And
much
then-
there, but at least they can.
No, there won't be much there. Like I've used YouTube as a way to archive interesting videos and then a lot of music that I like. So I have
Will be your
playlist.
first video on your channel, and we're proud.
But I think but I think I'm going to start using it in this different way. I actually have a idea for a similar kind of show. I even have a name for it. I even have started on the graphics for it. It'll be called The Faux Show. So
What?
Faux, the faux. Like I really like this FAUX. Like faux. Like I'm a painter. I'm an artist, right? So,
Right.
Oh, and anybody can check me out at www.bartomon.com. You can see my whole not my whole portfolio, but
Portfolio.
a lot of my artwork out that I've done. I thought I was gonna screen share that at some point, but
Bartomon.com. TheBartomon.
Bartomon.com.
No, the in the
Yeah,
it's
Just
no,
Bartomon.
just
B-A-
Bartomon.
Yeah, just 8
Bartomon.
letters. BARTOMON.
All
.com.
right, good stuff.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Amy, before we wrap her up?
Well, I am so glad we had you on our show. I am utterly fascinated by the relationships of circles. I had never thought of things that way and never been taught to think of things that way. So
Oh.
yeah, I am stunned, amazed, and I'm going to be doing some processing.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's exactly the reaction that makes me most pleased, right? Is the, hey, I never thought of it that way.
Yep.
This is going to lead me to some thinking.
That's right. That's the best part about it. Yeah. I was going to say that. It just opens your mind up. You look at things in a new way, you know.
Yeah.
When you look at a symbol or something you see that, you know, a company logo or something, you'll see these things now, right? You'll understand why they're there.
I'm so silly. Let me share one more image as a okay. Just speaking of the idea of mind expanding, yeah. Be right there.
Yeah, you see, there's the numbers there. You had that photo right there.
Yeah,
That was my question.
There's the Holy Grail. Next time I'll show you. Okay, there it is. Okay, so that pattern, you overlay it over anything, especially anything important, like a brain, right? And you find that it matches. It matches up. It shows you why things are in the proportions that they are, why they flow the way they do. How you can, it's a way of grouping things, and it is the mind looking at itself, right? It really represents that.
That's funny how you see the Baphomet head down there, in there.
Yeah.
Just go up from the bottom, and you can kind of see a Baphomet shape.
Oh yeah. Oh, have you all come across this guy lifting the veil, Cullen something or other?
Yes.
Yeah, we know lifting the veil. Yeah.
Yeah. There's two guys though, right?
Lifting the veil. Yes.
Yeah,
Colin Smith. Yes.
Look at this.
Yeah. And the nasal plate bone and the monarch symbol. Have you come across that?
No.
That's some good stuff. Yeah. There's like a hidden nasal bone. It's a skull bone, right? But it's one, like, if you're just looking at a skull, you don't see it, but it's a bone that exists, but it's in the skull, but it's behind the front of the skull. And it is the butterfly. It is the monarch butterfly. It is the mind control symbol itself. Yeah. So if you get a chance, check him.
Right.
Cool.
He blew my mind with that one.
I'm beginning to think it's about time to put the show to bed for tonight.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. And Ian, I'm going to set you up for the extra or the outro, or what? I said I'm going to set you up for the outro.
Yep. I'm almost ready.
All right. Let's go for it. Thank you, everyone. It's been a wonderful show. And thank you again, Bart. It's been glorious. And
thank you for having me. It was like
excellent show. Are
Good
we
night,
ready?
everybody. See you next time.
Good night, Ian. Good night, Amy.
Okay, let's mute our mics.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Everybody who came out.